Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey Podcast, the podcast where me and my brother Charlie talk about English ice hockey, specifically the National Ice Hockey League, which has come to an end. The playoffs is finished, and the Peterborough Phantoms are the 23-24 playoff champions against all the odds. And it was such a good weekend, wasn't it, boys? I know the Swindon Wildcats didn't quite get out of the semi-finals. The Leeds did beat them, but we promised in the last episode that we wouldn't get annoyed and we'd still enjoy the rest of the weekend. And I think we all loved it, didn't we?
Yeah, well, it was a good weekend of hockey. I think all three of the National League games I really enjoyed, including the one below as well. So all four games were really good. It was the first sellout we've had at Coventry, I believe, since the EPIHL. So it was a big weekend, and it did not disappoint with the hockey.
Dan, obviously coming in as a neutral, how did you find the playoffs? It was three really good games, wasn't it? I was saying to Charlie, Coventry never disappoints with the games. They're always absolute corkers.
No, I loved it. You can't beat the playoff weekend. It's always been my favourite weekend in hockey, and I just love playoffs, like I've said a lot. But yeah, the games are really good. Everyone stepped up to the occasion. Everyone sort of knew the importance of these games, and it's really good to see that all the teams bought in to play in this weekend's playoffs
Yeah.
and putting on a show for everyone.
Yeah, the fans. I thought it was really cool. MK playing the pantomime villains, everyone booing them. It was pretty cool. And then I just want to say as well, obviously Peterborough winning it. We jinxed it on penalty shots. By the way, we said we don't want any overtimes. We don't want any penalty shots. We know our views on them. We think it should be 5-on-5 overtime. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that in a bit, but no one should discredit the Peterborough Phantoms. I know what happened, and their overtime goal didn't cross the line. And we're going to talk about video replays as well. Don't you worry. But they've just beaten the best team in the league, the Leeds Knights. They deserve full credit. They deserve to win the playoffs. It's a separate game. Stuff happens. It's not their fault at the end of the day. The goal's been given. And they absolutely deserve it. So anyone's trying to discredit them, say the Tigers should be in the final. Maybe they might have been if they have replays, but Peterborough could have still won it as well. So I thought I'd just put that out there. Anything you wanted to add before we start? I thought I'd just mention everyone we met, by the way, everyone who said hello, everyone we spoke with, whether it was at the rink, at the pubs, whether it was out in the town. Honestly, everyone is just so nice. And I think it just speaks volumes of the hockey community, doesn't it, Charlie?
Yeah. Everyone in ice hockey's good. It was a fun weekend. Everyone was friendly. Everyone was lovely, and I don't think there was any too much drama. And even in the final, when obviously we had that incident with the fan, everyone was quiet in the rink. Everyone was respectful. One fan, but he apologized
That
for that.
one Muppet.
But he apologized. There was a reason why he did it. So things happen, but the hockey community was really respectful this weekend. That AJ clap. So it just shows you why the National League is the best league in English hockey.
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. And I think we've just got to start from the first game. We'll go through it. We're only going to talk about the three league games which we do in the National League. We'll mention the Streatham one, but the first one was the Leeds Knights versus Swindon Wildcats. And I don't know about you, Charlie, but when Wildcats come out on the ice for the warm up, seeing them for the first time in Coventry, I did get chills. Did get a bit emotional. And they obviously come out and did the anthems. The game started. I thought the first 2 minutes was pretty even. We then overcommitted. They went up the other end, and it was a scrappy goal, wasn't it, for the first one? And that was a bit of a kick in the balls, wasn't it, getting that scrappy goal? But that's what Leeds do, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, they always seem to just crowd that net and just drive the net. They've been doing it all season. They feed the slot. They get in the dirty areas. They have the players to do it. Um, but we've always said it. They're drilled into this way, and they always buy into how they want to play, and it always works for them.
Yeah. And then Charlie, we then I think tried to then put on more pressure, try and get one back as you do, but you got to remember the Leeds Knights are the quickest team in the league. They're the youngest team in the league, and they've got superstars like Kieran Brown and Matt Howlett. And we were so close to scoring from that scrap in front of the goal. The puck bounces out. Matt Howlett and Kieran Brown straight down the wings. Kieran Brown creates the space, draws the defender away, and Mac Howlett just snipes it. That was what happened in the first period, wasn't it, Charlie? All the time they were just breaking on us so quickly using that big ice rink.
Yeah, credit to Leeds. That was probably the most clinical performance I've ever seen from the Knights. Every chance they had, they took. From a Swindon perspective, we were just too open. You can't go in. I think we had the game plan, and then when we conceded the scrappy goal, I think it went out the window a bit, and we were just far too open in the Coventry semi-final first period. And Leeds took advantage of that. They really did. They got three big chances after they went 1-0 up. All three of them were lethal finishes. And that was the game on paper done. When you go 4-0 up. So Leeds were extremely clinical, and they are just lethal on the break.
Yeah, that Jake Witkowski goal, Dan. Oh my goodness. He just absolutely sniped it. You mentioned actually, and it was so quick, it just went in the top corner and back out again. It didn't ripple around the net, it didn't stay in the net, it just hit that top corner, over the line, bounce back, straight back out. That's how much of a snipe it was. And I felt bad for Rennie. He made two brilliant saves for the first goal, and then Barron scrapped it in. The second one, Mac Howlett, maybe Rennie could have got it better, but it's a 2-on-1, and Howlett's gone across goal. And then this Jake Witkowski one, just straight into the top corner, and then it was a power play goal after that. All the momentum was with Leeds. I think, Charlie, it was a bit different to the Milton Keynes game, wasn't it? In terms of the first period ended 0-0, didn't it? And we'd grinded out to get that 0-0. We'd unsettled MK a bit. We played that trap hockey. Leeds got that first scrappy goal, which Barron finished off, and then we're behind, and then it's a completely different game plan. And I think maybe we didn't quite stick to the game plan, but we can scrap it out at times, and Leeds just punished us on the break. And I think, Dan, this is an example of teams not getting much practice on a rink. And we've got a much smaller rink than Coventry's, and yeah, I think it just caught us off guard a bit, didn't it?
Yeah, I think also obviously the occasion as well. Obviously, it was a really big thing for Swindon to be there in the first place. But yeah, like obviously going into Coventry, you obviously people were saying obviously you'd have favourites for MK because they're obviously the big ice pad and stuff like that. It does make a difference.
Yeah.
Being on a small ice pad for the whole season and then going on to a big one for the semis and the finals it's a really big difference. And having all the crowd around you, have the whole league around you.
Yeah.
It's something that you just don't get throughout the regular season, and it's something that obviously Leeds have done it last year. They know what to expect. They know like half of them Swindon players have never been to Coventry.
Yeah.
Like it's a really big thing for them, and you don't think it makes a difference, but it really does in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, 100%. But the Wildcats didn't give up, did they, Charlie? We weren't 4-0 down. Heads could have dropped. We could have gone 5. We could have gone 6. Every single shot Leeds were having looked like it was going to hit that top corner. But we scrapped back into the game. And Captain Sam Bullis, he always seems to pop up in them big games. He got a big goal in the playoff away game against Milton Keynes, and he popped up again. He got the goal, and then the momentum started coming back on Swindon's side, didn't it? And then Bullis got another goal.
Yeah, it's one thing you've seen in the Swindon side this year is we don't like to give up in games. We never have done, and we never will. We did put up a good fight. Gone 4-0 down. I think most of the stadium, you could tell, thought the game was over. And Bullis got one goal. And then the momentum switched. For the last about 7 minutes of the third period, we got another goal from Sam Bullis, and it was very important at that point. Could we get the third goal before we went into the second period? And Leeds managed to hold on with some big saves, some big blocks. But actually, I think Swindon will be happy and frustrated with that first period because we bounced back really well, but it took us to concede 4 goals to bounce back.
Yeah.
And Bullis had a great game, and he's had a much better season this year than he did the year before. It's a big year for him, and he's stepped up in moments this season where we've really needed him to as a captain. And that's what you want from your captain. You want him to score a goal when you're 4-0 down and say, boys, we can get ourselves back into this game.
he's not has had as much pressure on him this year, has he? Because he's had roles where he's been propped on the third line sometimes, but then if we needed him on the first line, he'll play on the first line. He's played on the second line with Colby and Jones before. He's been all around it, Dan. Obviously, as Charlie mentioned, we had all the momentum. Leeds just got through that period, and it was almost like the Wildcats, they didn't want that period to end because they had all the momentum, didn't they?
Yeah, I said that. I said that in the rink. I said that it was almost like that period needed to be about 5 or 10 minutes longer.
Yeah.
The momentum just started to come, and then obviously you get that period break, and you can regroup and come out. But I think in that second period, I think Swindon
Yeah,
did play a good game of hockey in that
yeah, we
second
started
period.
very well.
Obviously you had that big chance for Cowley. I think that is the make or break of that game, to be
Yeah.
honest. That massive chance that Gospel managed to save somehow.
Yeah.
That was huge. But in the second period, I think Lee's major chances were about three or four.
Yeah.
And obviously Brown scored that one. But apart from that, Swindon played a really good game from that first period, and they really answered back well.
Yeah, on that save, because I think it was the biggest turning point of the game in terms of if Swindon were going to come back into it or not. Cowley's in front of the net. He receives a good pass. I'm not sure who it was from, but he puts it on his backhand. He beats Gospel. Gospel fell for it at the near post, but somehow, because he is Gospel and he can do the splits, he got his toe on it. I think I messaged him after the game. I was like, "How did you do that?" And he said he doesn't even know himself. He needs to see the replay. But I'm pretty sure it might have hit one of the skates or his the toe of his skate, and it somehow managed to go out. And I look like a muppet because I was up in the crowd going, "Oh!" So that was gutting, because I think if we'd have scored that, it'd have been very interesting to see how Leeds responded to it being 4-3 and within a goal. But I think it was a soft penalty, if I'm honest. But he did get a penalty with Stevie Whitfield and Leeds on the power play. I think they went 2 for 3 on the power play within the game. Kieran Brown, Charlie, you said it. It's up there for goal of the weekend. Go on, talk us through it, because it was an absolute snipe, wasn't
Yeah, he had that Kieran Brown game on Saturday, where everything he did was good. It's just annoying. All three of Leeds' big players turn out. Brown kind of picked up we just cleared the zone,
it? Yeah.
and obviously you're trying to stop them from breaking back into your zone. Brown kind of picked up the puck, went straight through the middle of us, and just sniped it from like I don't even know where from, but he
It was
just
like the
sniped it.
centre of between the goal and the line. It was in the middle, and he just put it top right.
And like it was that I said to Jack, I said Howlett when he's on it is on Brown's level. Witkowski is when he's on it is one of the best players in this league, and obviously Brown is the best point scorer in this league. And all three of them were on their top form on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And it's almost impossible to stop them because Brown
Yeah.
literally went, "Oh, you've cleared the puck. Well, I'm going to go put it back in the net." And I think that was a dagger in Swindon's push, to be honest.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the forwards. We'll go on. We'll talk about the rest of the game because it kind of fizzled out a bit. Leeds got that sixth goal from Barron. That was a killer. Again, another 2-on-1 using that big ice rink. I think it was turned over or something like that. And
Over that goal,
it was so quick. And Barron went in alone. I felt bad for Rennie because we had a few fans come up to us and say, "Oh, Rennie didn't have a great game." I'm like, actually, you look at all the goals, they were top corner. A couple of them were scraps after he made some good saves. I don't really think it was on him at all. I don't know what else he could have done really. And the Barron one was a 2-on-1, and he's put it through Mar's legs, but Mar has to commit one way or another. And then Colby gets a goal back. I think it was with 8 minutes to go to make it 6-3. We pull the keeper, as you do. There's nothing to lose, and they scored the empty net. But what I really want to talk about is the other end of Leeds, the defensive stability of some of their D-men, especially Noah McMullen and Bo Neely, that you could tell they are different level to some of these D-men in the league, aren't they, Dan?
Yeah, 100%. We've been saying it all year. McMullen is so solid. Like he is up there with I would say he's probably the best defensive defenseman in this league.
Well, he
He
is,
is
I think.
everything he does is just perfect. Blocks every shot, gets every puck at the balls, and he's so composed at passing the puck out. And then you've got Bo Neely, who is just he's just such a good skater, and he
Yeah.
can carry the puck up so well, so composed, and he's so young as well. And
Yeah.
it's just both of them working together is just unreal.
Charlie, someone who I mentioned, who I thought had a good, he scored in the final as well. I actually thought he was one of Leeds' better players in the final, which we'll talk about in a bit. But Dylan Hare, I thought he had a really good weekend. He was one of Leeds' best players. He blocks everything. He's a perfect penalty killer for Leeds, and he's got a little naughty slap shot as well, as we saw in the final. And I thought he went quite under the radar this weekend. And Noah McMullen and Bo Neely will get all the praise as the
Yeah,
main D-men for Leeds, but you need those types of players like Baldwin and Dylan Hare in your lineup, don't you?
yeah, he's one of them Ryan Aldridge players who Ryan Aldridge, and credit to him as well because he's worked hard in terms of Dylan here. I'm just getting him up now on Elite Prospects. He's one of them players. He's only 21, by the way. Only 21.
Still a young player.
He came from Whitley Warriors when he was about 19, and he's been at Leeds for 2 seasons now. And he is one of them players Ryan Aldridge has just casually developed under the side, and now he's established in his decor. And you can name so many of them for Leeds. And obviously, people are going to give the credit to Leeds for their top end guys. Their top end guys, we know what they're like. Their top two D men are elite, and their top six forwards are elite. But if you look at the likes of Bailey Perry, Dylan Hare, Finley Braden, but he didn't play too much, Ollie Endicott, Inns Gallagher's starting, Ethan Hare, these players are the players Ryan Aldridge over the last 2 seasons or three has just slowly developed into becoming some of the best third pair defensemen, second pair defensemen, third line forwards. And they actually did make a big difference because, Dylan here, he is a very good defensive defenseman, and he complements. He plays with Bo Neely, doesn't he? He
Yeah,
complements Bo
he was
Neely
on second
very
line
well
D.
because Bo Neely can attack quite a lot and can go up quite a lot, but Dylan here just makes sure that it's defended well and that he makes sure that Bo Neely's got the cover when needed.
Absolutely. And we messaged a couple of Leeds players after the game and spoke to a few Swindon players after the game. I don't think the scoreline really showed the whole game. Obviously, it's our fault we went 4-0 down. Absolutely. Leeds definitely deserved to win the game. But I think it was a lot closer than what the scoreline says. Obviously, they got that empty net goal at the end. And I don't think Swindon should be too disappointed. We'll go on to it. Swindon as a whole, as a season, I think considering what's happened at the start, where we didn't have a rink, we weren't training, we were playing away every single weekend. Some weekends we were just having one game. We managed to get into the cup on the last game. We got to the semi-final, gave Milton Keynes the best game all season at their own barn. We got to playoffs, which is before the season. I'll say this because I've only said this to Charlie, but I'll say it on the podcast. I said Swindon need to get to Coventry. We need to get over that hump. If we don't make Coventry this year, I do think it's not a failure, but it's an under par season. But we made Coventry, we've got over that hump, and I think now, Dan, it's about okay. Let's make this a regular thing. Let's make Coventry a regular thing. We've got over the hump now. We don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, I think this season is a really big season for Swindon to build on. You've made a lot of benchmarks now,
Yeah,
so a lot of different targets are going to be set now for seasons to come. Obviously, getting to Coventry, you've done it now. You need to go next season, do it again,
yeah,
maybe get to the final. Obviously, just keep improving. Obviously, you got to the cup, get to the final.
yeah.
You've obviously got that top four finish. That's probably as expected for Swindon, I'd say, with
Well, top
the
even top
team.
three, I'd say, was
Yeah,
expected.
yeah, and obviously with MK and Leeds, obviously they were going to be up there. That's a realistic finish for them. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's been a bad season at all for Swindon. I
Yeah,
think everything that's happened and stuff has just been. Yeah, I think the season ended as it should have.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, next season I think it'll be a big season for Swindon.
Yeah, I think this will be the season now where they can kick on. They'll have the rink, fingers crossed, touch wood. Nothing will happen, and they'll have the rink the whole season, and they can properly use this whole roster going into next season. Charlie, before we move on to the Telford Phantoms game, was there anything you wanted to say about the Swindon team?
The Swindon season, I'm just happy we had a season.
Yeah,
Not many clubs would have survived what Swindon had, and the fact that we were an overtime away from a cup final against a whole team, which would have been a great game. We were wow, we got to Coventry, the first thing we've ever done, and we managed to finish third in the league, and we didn't play a home game till December. Like I'm very happy with how we played this season, and I don't think there's many coaches, if any coaches, who would have not lost a player with the circumstances Swindon had this season.
yeah, that's true.
We had to play away for 3 months. We had to play away for 3 months of hockey. Gale and Colby, first time for Swindon. Well, Gale's first time playing for Swindon. Billings, time back. Luke Johnson, and every single player kept to the club and played. And I couldn't be more proud of them boys because it was a tough season. It will go under the radar how much has had to go into the club behind the scenes. I know Paul Norbury did a lot to help the club out as well with
Yeah,
away games in Milton Keynes and stuff and Cardiff. But yeah, and a quick shout out to Stevie Whitfield. Congrats on the retirement. He's a legend of the club. I've enjoyed
legend.
watching him. He scored a great goal against Basingstoke in the cup final, first leg. And then a player I have to give a huge shout out, and I believe he said he's coming on to the pod. I gave him a massive hug when I saw him in the bar after the game, and genuinely probably the nicest hockey player you can ever meet. It's Russell Cowley. Congratulations again on a huge retirement. He is 40 years old. He's been doing it for years. He played in Coventry for 13 years. He was speaking to me about how he got 50 points in a season in the Elite League. His career has been wonderful. I was gutted he couldn't get that goal in Coventry.
Oh.
On his final game. And to be honest, I was gutted I couldn't see Cowley lift the cup in Coventry. But he said to me, and I think his words said it best. He said, I couldn't have asked for a better place to finish my career. He
Yeah,
said, back with the Swindon players. He said, back with every single one of these lads on the Swindon team, he said, are amazing. And he said, with the circumstances we had, he said, this season's been so fun being able to enjoy the end of my career. And he got to end it on his terms because he could have
yeah,
played another 3 years. So congratulations, Stevie Whitfield and Cowley, and bring on next season Swindon Wildcats. And
yeah.
congratulations, James Archer, as well on a great career.
Yeah. Also to add on that, this shows how tight knit all the players were. They all put money together to get him a really nice watch, which had Russell Cowley and 1999 to 2024. I thought that was so cool. A personalised watch was a really nice one as well. So big up Russell Cowley, big up Stevie Whitfield. We're gonna miss Whitfield. We really are. In the he's one of the jokers on the coach home, isn't he, Charlie? He gets everyone's mood up. Even if when we've lost a game. So he's going to be a massive miss. So yeah, you're never going to replace Wits. Let's move on to the second game then. The Telford Tigers versus the Peterborough Phantoms. And going into the game, a lot of people were like, oh, some people are on the Telford. I think you were on the Telford bandwagon, Dan. Me and Charlie were
Yeah.
a bit more on Peterborough just based on experience and players being at Coventry. But it was a bit of an unknown, and the game did not disappoint. Peterborough obviously taking that 2-0 lead. We thought, oh, here we go. Slava's playing that game. And I think they were 1-0 up going into the first intermission or 2-0 up. But credit to Telford, Charlie. They did battle back into the game, didn't they?
Yeah, Telford were excellent. They battled really hard in this game. I'll go on to Tom Watkins's interview later, but
Yeah.
they battled super hard Telford, and to come back from 4-2 was massive. And their depth players got the scoring. Tom Watkins putting in trust in his depth players, and Joe Aston getting the equaliser. And I think he's got minimal points this season, but he found a way.
Yeah.
And yeah, Telford Tigers, I think they did themselves proud at Coventry this year.
Yeah.
Normally they sometimes struggle in their Coventry performances, but this year it was toe to toe. It was you couldn't have split the game, and no team deserved to lose.
It was big shifts, wasn't it, Dan? I thought Peterborough really dominated the start and they were quite clinical. Obviously, that assist from Ferrari just made it look so simple to Jarvis Hunt. And then he did a backhand behind not even looking at the centre, he just backhands it into the slot. And Brad Day made a really good save on someone. I can't remember who it was. But I thought that both teams were battling hard. And then we had the possible, he's up there with goal of the tournament. Charlie, this is your one, I think, and he's definitely up there. Harry Ferguson, just out of nowhere, he just races down the left-hand side, and you're thinking the D-man's pushed him wide. He's not going to do anything. Any shot, Mar's going to save. Backhand Shelfie, like, it was an absolute snipe, and we were like, how has he managed to do that? And that got the Tigers rolling, I think, and the Tigers battled back into the game. Dan, that was quite some goal, wasn't it? And Ferguson, I thought, was one of their best players, actually.
Yeah, that was an unreal goal. I'd say that's goal of the
Me too.
playoffs.
Me too.
Definitely, yeah, definitely a good goal. It was, yeah, it was just a game of momentum again. Like momentum is obviously such a big thing, and
Yeah.
the game went exactly how everyone thought it was going to go. No one really knew how it was going to end up. Because obviously it's two really well coached teams. They're probably two of the best coaches in this league. Um, and yeah, it's just like Charlie said, it's just the depth of Telford. Like they really made a big factor in that game. You've got obviously we've said his name before. You got Ryan Leese in D,
Yeah.
16 years old, getting regular minutes in a playoff semi-final in Coventry. It just shows how much faith Tom Watkins has in his younger players,
Yeah.
and that's just an unreal experience for a player like that. That's playing in a semi-final in Coventry as a 16-year-old is such a big thing for your experience and your progression,
Yeah.
and he's just going to keep growing on that now. It's having your coach know that he's got trust in you is such a big confidence boost for a young player like that, and he's going to be buzzing from that, and he'll just keep growing and growing and growing. He's going to be a really big part of that Telford D one day.
It makes these younger players stick around in those clubs as well, because they know that coach specifically is putting the trust, and they know they're going to get minutes. Phantoms took the 4-2 lead, but again, Telford. Oh, and sorry, quickly shout out Padalek. He got his 250th career goal, I think, with the Peterborough Phantoms.
Yeah.
Big Paddy. He's retired a couple times. He's come back a couple times, but Slava always relies on him, and he got a really big goal. But as we said, the Tigers battled back. Joe Aston. Me and Dan thought it was Luca because he did the Luca Bazooka celebration. Joe Aston did it when they tied it 4-4, and Charlie was like, "No, that was Aston because I saw some ginger." No, but that nothing against Aston.
I saw his ginger beard. I was like, "Oh, that is Joe Aston." Jack was like, "No,
No,
it's
he
not
did.
Joe Aston." And Dan was the same. And then I got back to the hotel after coming back from Weatherspoons, and Jack goes, "No." Dan went, "It was Joe Aston." I went, "Yeah, I did think it was Joe Aston."
He just did the bazooka celebration.
Me and Jack looked at each other. He zoomed into a photo on Facebook, I think, and he was just like, "Dan, we've got a problem."
We got a problem. Charlie was right again. So, yeah, well done, Joe Aston. As you said, Charlie, come back into Telford after not playing last season, and he's just a depthy guy, isn't he? He throws in the points now and again. But go on.
Yeah, I was going to quickly mention on Peterborough. I thought they did a real good job. Obviously on the Saturday they had a second line of Wowden, Blockley, Nordstrom, and Padalek. They swapped Nordstrom and Mitchell King round for the second game.
Yeah.
But I thought Peterborough are so clever in the way they build their lines together and the way they tactically manage the games. And the way Slava gets the best use out of players like Padalek and Wowden. Like Wowden's been a third line centre from what I can say for years upon years. And then in Coventry, Will Wowden and Padalek are on a second line. And as we all know, they went on to win it. And that's no discredit to these players, but Slava tactically puts it perfectly. And can't lie, I was rooting for Padalek because he strolls around, and me and Dan like every time he goes off the ice when he's finished his shift, he goes off like nothing's happened.
Yeah,
like he goes off like it's just another day of work. And I really appreciated Peterborough because they did it the hard way, and I respected that because a lot of their underrated players really turned up this tournament. Will Wan.
I think this just proves that you can look at teams, you can look at players on paper, you can look at lines on paper, and you can say, no, that line is better. But no, it's not about that. It's about how they play in the system which the coach wants them to play, which makes all the difference. And that got proven on the Sunday. But we'll go into that in a minute. Let's get on to the controversial moment then. It went to overtime. I thought Telford had the puck a lot in the overtime period. Peterborough broke away, didn't they? 2-on-1. Buglass takes the shot. I think Day got something on it. It then hit the post, inside the post, rolled across the line, and then hit the other post and bounced out. And Mitchell King cleared it. Now, the referee, I think, originally signalled no goal, and then he signalled goal. The light come on not straight away. It come on like a few seconds after. And there's me at the top. I decided to randomly record when Peterborough come on the attack, and I get it on record, and they're discussing the referees at the time. I'm watching back the video I've just taken, and the puck didn't cross the line, and I'm like, oh my goodness, do I throw my phone on the ice? What do I do? And the referees gave the goal. It was, I forget who the other referee was, but it was Irons and the other referee. And let's clarify this right now. It was not the referee's fault. Yes, they made a little error, which referee it was, made an error that they signalled the goal. It is so tight. It rolls straight across the line, on the little side edge as well. It's not the referee's fault. And I wanted to clarify that straight away because they were getting some abuse on Twitter. They were getting people saying they should be fired, this and that. I think some people are either threatening the referees. I think Ian sent me a picture and someone was not happy. It's not their fault. They don't have video replays. The best league in the world, the NHL, they rely on replays to help their referees in moments like that, in those big playoff moments. And I'll go on to you, Charlie. They need help, don't they? They need video replays to help them, even if it's not in the regular season, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But the playoff games in a neutral venue, surely they can have replays for those games.
Yeah, you need replays in the whole league.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing now, you've got teams with 2,000 fans coming through the door. You need goal line technology. It just has to happen. A big moment like that, it needs to be decided fairly, and it wasn't, and that is the truth of it. I feel massively for Telford, but one thing you do have to remember, and I saw a lot going around saying Telford should have been in the final.
Yeah,
they didn't win the game. Even if the goal wasn't given, the game wasn't won. There was still an overtime to play. So the game wasn't won, and I think that is clear. So there was still a game to play. There should have been anyway. But the ref made a mistake. He had a good view, but it's difficult. It was going very quick. You had to slow-mo it in the video. Yeah. And you just need to support the refs. The league is improving, and we can tell. Coventry sold out. It wasn't sold out in the last couple of seasons. All attendances in the league went up. MK are averaging crazy numbers. Swindon have gone up in attendance once we got the rink going. All teams have gone up, so we need to start improving the things on the ice. Support the refs more. I don't know whether there's training as well, which refs can take, because I know there's a lot of young refs in the league. We have got Irons and Matthews who have been around a while, and Pickett and players like that, but I've noticed there's a lot more new, younger refs who have come from the league below. So it'd be good to be able to support the league from the bottom and up, and get these technologies in and help these referees out, so that in moments like them, they can go to goal line technology and it doesn't have to end like that.
Feel comfortable with making a mistake. That's what you want them to feel.
Because it's not their fault. It can't help. But in the league which we're in, I think it's important that we do get goal line technology, because there's been a couple ones. The one which happened in MK earlier on in the season, where the goal lifted up on its moorings and it went in the net. And again, that's not the referee's fault. But if we had goal line technology, or they were able to use something, we would have been able to clearly go, actually, guys, no goal. So, there is improvements to be made. But it didn't take anything away from Peterborough Phantoms' win on the semi-final game. But, I think the rest will agree. It would be nice to get some help.
I was saying to you, Dan, it's frustrating for the Tigers. Absolutely. I think Jesse Sutton messaged us after the game and he was absolutely gutted, wasn't he, Charlie? And
Yeah.
he was saying the next step needs to be replays. And there's many players who we spoke to this weekend and they said, yeah, in big decisions like big moments like that, you have to have replays to make it fair. But it's also a bit unfair for the Phantoms. Not unfair, but it's a bit annoying because as Charlie said, they didn't lose the game. Telford didn't deserve to be in the final in the sense that they would have gone through. It was the unknown. It's the sense of we don't know what would have happened, and that's the frustrating part, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, 100%. It's something that no one's ever going to know now. But carrying on from what Charlie said, you want to grow this league. It always gets rambled on how professional this league is getting.
Yeah.
You can't grow a professional league without having goal line technology or something to review play. Um, Not just for goals, you got hits as well.
Yeah.
Anything like that. You can't have these decisions just being made just from one look. You it's a quick game. You can't just see it and just call it. Um, but another thing I was saying as well is having these replays, even if it did go in, at least the fans and the players know it was looked at.
Yeah.
They know it was seen. They know they've had a look. So if it does get decided that it went in, they're fine with that because they're obviously going to be annoyed, but they just know it's been looked at, which is obviously that's all you want.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just going forward. You have to bring it in.
Yeah.
It's another thing. Obviously, Telford, they've done a full season's work there.
Yeah.
They've got to Coventry against all odds. They're obviously not the favourites. Um, and their season could potentially come to an end from a goal that didn't go in. And that's going to be playing with them and the fans for the whole off season now because they could be thinking they could have that trophy right now
Yeah.
because no one will ever know.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's frustrating. It needs to happen. The goal line technology needs to come in. And I saw a few people saying we don't want it to turn into VAR with football and rugby, but I think it's different. It's not like that. In the NHL, it's very quick on the decisions. I think they should only do the video replays for if you're seeing if someone should be sent off, if they've given a 5+ game for someone, and they can quickly review that to see if it was, or sorry, the goal lines, whether it's gone over the line or not. So those are the two which, and maybe goalie interference, but then that's where it starts getting a bit complicated. But
I
that's what I'm saying. Go on,
I
Dan.
would love I would love to see obviously first thing get the goal line technology stuff, but I would love to see a coach's challenge thing come into this
Yeah,
league, like the NHL. Coach can go to the ref to say, review this, please. Obviously, in the NHL, if it deems as the same call as what was called on the play, obviously you get a 2-minute penalty.
yeah,
I would love to see that come into this league. I think give the coach the give him the freedom to sort of have that choice if he wants to risk that of getting that goal reviewed. Obviously, he could end up in a being on a penalty kill, but obviously it's up to the
yeah.
coach, and I think that'd be a really good thing to bring into the league as well.
It's something that the league can progress. And as Charlie said, there's so much positives which the league has gone in, and we're seeing so much better quality hockey, better players come in. They've obviously introduced the imports to 3, which I think was really, really big for this league. The reasoning why apparently they can't do the video replays in the league is because not every team can do them. And if not every team can do them, then no one can do them. But every team's got a stream now, and I think they should have a stream in the box where the people in the box who do the little writing of the penalties and doing the scoreboard, I think they should be able to have a little replay system. So hopefully that's something that gets sorted. Charlie, you wanted to quickly mention the Tom Hopkins interview
Um,
because he was very frustrated and rightly so.
he made some very interesting comments. I'm having a really hard time communicating my disappointment and disbelief for what went on in our semi-final game. My players and I can't accept that result. We win or lose, that's hockey, but yesterday we didn't lose. He talked about the officials making a huge error. He wasn't happy with the professionalism of the officials. he was in disbelief. He was frustrated by the communication from the referee board and many things there. And there is some frustrations there. So if you want to check it out, it's on Telford Tigers Scores on their Facebook account. It's definitely a read worth listening, worth reading. He said he talks about how it needs to get better, but he also talks about how proud he is of his players, and he could be so proud of his team because they went 2 goals behind and they made it back. And he's very grateful for all the support they've had this season.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting read. There's a big frustration there, and it just shows you how much it means to the clubs and the players of the teams. It's sometimes not just this season for some of these players. A lot of these players probably aren't on the biggest of salaries. They're doing it because they love hockey. They're doing it because they're passionate about it. And I think that's why we want to see the league take that step forward and get video goal review. Because if the puck doesn't cross the line and it shouldn't be a goal, we don't want that to then affect a team. And it happened in the biggest moment it could have really. But congratulations to the Peterborough Phantoms. They thoroughly did deserve to go through. And it does suck for Telford, but I'm sure they'll be back in Coventry and they'll have another good season next year.
As bad as it sounds, hopefully it's now taken something like that to now make a change to get the goal line replays. Because if that happens again, if that happened in the final, wow, that's not fair at all. And it's not fair on Telford, and it's annoying for Peterborough as well. But let's move on to the Sunday then. The finals. Now, Streatham beat Billingham 4-3. I actually thought Billingham played all right. They just couldn't score. They weren't clinical. They had so many power play opportunities, and Streatham finally got over the hump, and they won the playoffs. And I know they've been training hard for that, so well done to them. But let's move on to our one, which was the Peterborough Phantoms versus the Leeds Knights. And I think every single person I spoke to said that the Leeds Knights were going to win, and they were obviously the favourites. They're the best team in the league this season. They've been the best team for the last 2 years, and the game started, and as it went on, Dan, Leeds couldn't get that goal, could they? And then they got a scrappy goal, which, I'll be honest, again, I don't know if it's crossed the line or not. This is a lot tighter. The video isn't above, like my one, which Leeds put on their Instagram. It was very, very tight. But even so, that's where you need replays again, but we've just waffled about that. It was another scrappy goal which got the ball rolling, wasn't it, Dan?
Yeah, it's, again, feed the slot, drive the net. It's almost like they're doing the same game plan as they did in the first game. You got to get them dirty, scrappy goals in playoff hockey. Just got to find that way of getting a goal, getting the momentum, and just sort of set the tone in that first period.
Yeah, and it went into the period break 1-0, Charlie, and we're thinking, Leeds have got that scrappy goal now. Peterborough would have liked to have a lead or go into the break maybe at even. But they came out firing, didn't they, Charlie? They came out like a different kind of Peterborough to the first period, didn't they?
Yeah, I was going to quickly mention Peterborough did the first period very well against Leeds.
Yeah, they did.
The thing with the Leeds Knights is they're always going to come out quick, hard, and fast in a first period of the playoffs. And I looked at Dan when they scored the first goal. And I went there when Leeds scored the first goal. I said, Peterborough are quite unlucky to concede that. That was not the way the game was getting played.
Yeah.
Peterborough were physical. They roughened up Leeds, and Leeds don't like to get roughened up. They like being able to play pretty hockey. Of course, they got the players to do it. And I think Peterborough were slightly unlucky to get that 1 goal down. But they played the first period well. When they conceded the first goal, they survived the storm and they get to the second. And when they start the second, they were physically bullying Leeds at times. They were all over Leeds for a period of time and they took advantage of it. I can't remember who scored the first goal.
It was Jarvis Hunt again. He's got the first goal in both games.
Jarvis Hunt's goal was a snipe. He was. I forgot there was only 3 goals and not 4. The first game was 4. Jarvis Hunt grabs the puck. Depth player. I said to Dan in the first period, I said they deserve a goal, that third line, this game, because they played really well in that first period, that third line. A third line, a lot of people would have doubted, and myself.
It was just putting it out there. It was Jasper Foster, Glossop, I think that's how you say it, Gossip or Glossop, and Jarvis Hunt as the centre
Yeah.
mid, Charlie. Carry on.
And no one would have backed that line in the nicest possible way.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That line wouldn't have been the line which you would have gone, they're going to score the goal. They're going to make a big impact in both games. Yeah, that line was physical. It chipped in. Jasper Foster was a weapon over the weekend. He follows through on every hit.
Yeah.
And podcast guest, by the way, shout out to him. And then Jarvis Hunt, he goes down that right-hand side. He's driving towards the net, and he did the Witkowski snipe from the night before. He picked out the top left corner, ping right back out, and Peterborough Phantoms battled back into this game. And
they
as soon as it went in, I looked at Dan and I went, game on, baby. Slava's in it.
And they shocked the Knights, didn't they, Dan? I think Swindon would have loved to have done what Peterborough did in that first period, where they shut them down, just like they did against Milton Keynes in that first playoff game. Obviously, that didn't happen. Leeds got the scrappy goal quite early. Leeds got this towards the end of the first period. As Charlie said, they come out, Hunt gets that big goal, and Leeds... something wasn't right, was it? Something wasn't right. And obviously, we're not tacticians. We don't know what game they were trying to play. But you could tell it wasn't the Leeds Knights from the night before. And the second goal, Ivan Bjorkley-Nordstrom. Oh, boy. These European imports, they are Slava's players to a T. He comes back. He tracks back. The Europeans, Dan, they base their game on defensive hockey first, and then they go forward, don't they? Ivan Bjorkley-Nordstrom, he tracks back. He Leeds are on a 3-on-2. He tracks back, gets the puck, takes it off one of the Leeds players. He then passes it out forward, comes round down the right-hand side. He finds the puck, and he goes the exact same spot as Jarvis Hunt did, over that left shoulder on the blocker of San Gospel. And again, it was another snipe, and the Phantoms went 2-1 up, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. There's a reason why Peterborough have only had one Canadian import in the past however many years. Oh. You can tell they obviously love their Euro imports, and you can see why, because Slava plays a game where the whole team defends. You don't have D-men, and then you have a guy that's sort of cherry picking up the top. Every player in a block comes back into the zone and plays from the zone and out. No, they don't do that stretch pass up the ice. They don't use their body to get through guys. They're all on the same wavelength, and they all go up as a group. It's the way Slava loves to play. And I mean, me and Charlie, I think the whole day we were talking about hockey. And we said about the Leeds game and the Phantoms game, and we said, what don't Leeds like? They don't like getting hit. Yeah. And what did Phantoms do? Every player, I said to Charlie, Slavkovsky finished every check. I've never seen him play like that before. No. Obviously, Jasper Foster, I said as well, finished every hit. And they didn't like it. They don't like getting bullied along the boards. They obviously, like Charlie said, they like playing their slow, pretty hockey with their players. And they don't like getting hit. And Slava obviously had a game plan going into that game. And you just have to be physical. Every hit that's going for, no hit was dirty, no hit was malicious. It was all fair hits, and it was just finishing the check and not getting caught out. And because of them all come back as a group, nobody got caught out from those hits.
Exactly that, and that is the way when every single Peterborough player are on it. That is the way that they can play, and they have played in very big games in the past few years. Go on, Charlie. I see you got your hand up.
I was going to say, one of the things they did, which I always really liked, is almost when they attacked, it helps you offensively at times, but their centre or one of their wingers would always sit in between their two D-men on the point. Mm-hmm. And so they knew Leeds are good at breaking. And they said, well, okay, we're going to just play quite safe hockey, and we're just going to leave a guy on the point. Ferrara was often there, and he'd often take some shots. So it was a very clever strategy. It's always fun looking out. I love Ivan Bjorkley-Nordstrom because he's actually got a Scottish accent. He was born in Edinburgh, and I find it quite funny because he looks Swedish, and he is Swedish. He is 6'7", by the way. And he's got a Scottish accent, very good hands, and not many people know this. He's only 21 years old. Mm-hmm. Signed up for Peterborough next year. He got a point a game this year and had a huge playoffs for them. So I think next year he's going to be going, I want 60, 70 points. Only 21 years old. The Scottish-Swedish machine. He's going to have a good season next year. But Yeah, I think Peterborough came with a game plan. They stuck to it, and I'm gonna let Jack rave about this guy, but this season, this player, I'm just getting his points up. He got 12 points in 51 games, but for me, I'm gonna say it now. He is my Charlie Macca player of the weekend, and
Okay.
it's Billy Thorpe. He is my player of the weekend. You can give all the stars to the other players. But Billy Thorpe, I believe he's 18 or 19 years old. He is 19 years old, and he had the weekend of his life.
Yep.
Honestly, he has developed under Slava so well, and I'm gutted he didn't score the winner,
Can
but
I go on to it?
he's so good.
So Billy Ford, in fact, we'll get onto him in just a second. We'll go through the game. Leeds took the timeout. You could tell something wasn't going right, was it, Dan? Aldridge took the timeout. You saw him. He was shouting at the players. You've seen Nell do that a lot this season. If they're not doing something, he's shouting at the players. And they did actually tie it up. They got that goal from the blue line, and that they scored a couple like that, didn't they? Just fired on for the blue line, screened Mar, and they found themselves in the back of the net. I think that was Dylan Hare. And then, just as you were saying, Dan, they kept that defensive stability in the zone. All three forwards pressing the man, and the D course staying tight to Mar. Bo Neely, I feel for him. It fell off his stick, didn't it? And Slagkowski was off in a rush, wasn't he? He's one of the most skilled players in the league. And he went the exact same way again. He went in that top left corner. It seemed to be somewhere which Peterborough had maybe looked at before, because every time they shot in that top left corner, and he scored to make it 3-2. Leeds battled back into it again, as they always do, even though they probably weren't playing their best. They got another shot in from the blue line and they tied it up at 3. And in comes Billy Thorpe. This is where I thought he thrived. Leeds Knights, I think it was at the end of the game, they had about a 2-minute stint where they were just pressure after pressure after pressure. Leeds caught Peterborough. Leeds had their first line out. Peterborough had their third line out. And Billy Thorpe was on the ice. You had Jasper Foster. You had Naston, I think. Oh, no, it wasn't Naston. It was Glossop and Jarvis Hunt. And Leeds were hammering them. They were hammering them. And it was... they got a power play right at the end, didn't they, Dan? Leeds. And Thorpe makes this unbelievable block where he just jumps in front of the puck. And I was like, that is a game changer, because I think it was an absolute rocket by Matt Howlett. And I don't know if Mar would have saved it, but Thorpe makes an absolutely brilliant block. It goes to overtime. Leeds, I think, have a power...
I swear he made the block in overtime.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm talking about overtime. So, sorry, it went to overtime. They had a power play in overtime, Leeds. He made the block in overtime. The puck then gets turned over. And, oh, my goodness.
I don't know what Leeds were doing there either.
I don't know. They just stopped, didn't they?
Leeds were overcommitting. It was almost like they got a power play and they felt, we're going to just pressure them until the clock goes out. So either we score or the game ends.
Yeah.
But that was not the case, was it?
10 seconds to go. Mitchell, was it Mitchell King?
No, it's Barron and both D-men on that.
Oh, it was the D-men pairing. Yeah, Barron and Thorpe, they come out after... Thorpe's just been on for a whole minute and a half, by the way, killing that penalty.
He was on for about 45 seconds.
45 seconds. He comes up with Barron. Barron does the perfect pass, and it just flicks over Thorpe's stick, and it goes wide. And I said to Charlie, I feel so bad for him, because if they do go on to lose in penalty shots, he's had such a good game. One of the best games, if not the best game he's probably had of his career.
And I will say this.
And they might lose it.
and I will say this because they won, so you can say it now.
Yeah.
It was an open net and he missed it. He wanted to score that. He'll say it. He'll look back and laugh now. He should have scored it. The pressure was nerves. I would have probably slipped over.
Well, you definitely would have slipped over.
I just want to say again, Slava. I've spoken to Billin's parents about how good Slava is, but Scott Robson, who is one of the most defensive defensemen in the league, right? He's so good defensively. He put Billy Thorpe out in overtime over Scott Robson. Slava Kulikov. Last season, just put in context, Billy Thorpe got 2 points in 52 games. This year he got 12. Obviously 4 points. Obviously a huge step up in ice time. But the way Slava puts trust in youngsters, it's just different gravy, man. It's different. Like if you're a youngster and you needed to join a team and you got offered a Peterborough contract, I say join Peterborough.
And that's why he signed for 2 more years, because he knows.
Like Slava put such good trust in these players, and I am and I'm happy Peterborough did end up winning it with the Luke Farrar thing. But I wanted Billy Thorpe to score that goal because that would have summed up Slava hockey. Slava puts trust in youth, and the reason he wins cups like he did in the playoffs with a team which budget won't be as big as other teams, a team which squad isn't as big, a team which was losing Sustas, Sirasenis, and Duncan Spears. That's a whole second line in itself. The reason I love Slava is because all the players on the ice, Jasper Foster, Jarvis Hunt, Brad Barron, what's his name, Billy Thorpe, all of these players.
He played Louis Naston in some shifts as well.
I could name probably most of the Peterborough squad, including Tom Norton. I know Dan will speak about this as well. I could name pretty much the whole squad. Will Wowden, all of them. They got Callum Buglas. He came from Sweden and developed there. All of these players, Blockley Nordstrom even for a season, all of these players were developed by Slava, handmade. He was the guy who helped them in their career. I know so many players who would say Slava's the best coach they've played under. And Slava Kulikov is a genius. And Dan, just take it away.
I mean, you said his name there. We haven't mentioned him. We've mentioned the defence, but me and Jack did speak about him. Yeah. Callum Buglas. He probably had the hardest job on that Sunday night. The guy that he was marking was number 12, Kieran Brown. The guy that you probably don't want to even be on the ice with. And he did it perfectly. Obviously, we know he's not the best on the boards. He's not the most physical D-man. That's
he's
not
a physical D-man, is he?
Not all D-men have to be physical. I think they get sort of given this role of thinking that they're big hitters and stuff like that. But Buglas, he's such a clever player with his stick. We say it with Mullen as well. Obviously, he's quite physical, but with his stick, the way he just poked Brown every time he got a puck, it's not like he's an easy guy to defend against. Like the guy is skating at you, and he fully, like me and Charlie were looking at each other, we're like, right, Brown, Buglas, and then bang, puck's gone. Just pokes it off him, just snatch it off him.
His reach is so big, and he just kind of goes, whoop, 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 whoop.
It's like. And you get them, obviously, we saw it against Telford. He gets them little rushes up the ice. Obviously, had that shot. Might not have gone in, but he had the shot.
Still, he gets good points for a D-man, didn't he?
On the blue line. Do you know them players who like skate up and down the blue line? They put them fizzers on. Brock Bartholomew does it the best in the league. Buglas is really good at not losing the puck on the blue line. So Dan, Callum Buglas. He's a cracking player.
He goes under the radar. Like you wouldn't really look at him a lot, but you could say that about the whole Peterborough team. To be honest, like we've just said their whole lineup, and they're all unreal for for where they've come from, their age, how they play. It's just all comes down to one guy on the bench, Slava.
And credit to the players. It's not just Slava as well. The players have put their trust in the way he plays. Let's get back to we've gone on a bit there, but back to Billy Thorpe. Obviously missed that opportunity, but what I loved is he went straight to the bench. Obviously his head was down. He was like, no, I could have scored that. Every single veteran player, you got Tom Norton, Luke Farrar, Will Weldon, they all tapped him on the head. They go, no, mate, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We're still in this. We're not out this. There's penalty shots to go. And they all tapped him on the head. And I absolutely love that. I don't swear. I'm not going to swear, but I love that. That he could have won it and they could have been frustrated, but no, those big players tapped him on the head, and he's how welcoming is that, knowing that he's playing with those players. Anyway, on to penalty shots, and we'll go on to the incident. Obviously, something happened in the crowd. Charlie mentioned it earlier, and it kind of dampened the mood slightly. Obviously, everyone went silent, and the person got taken out. I'm not sure how they are, but hopefully they're all right, and they got sorted too. And it went back into the penalty shots, and it was currently 0-0 after 2 penalty shots. I think both of them missed the one after. Matt Barron then scores, and this puts a spanner in the works. And this meant that Bradley Bowering had to score or Leeds Knights
What a
win the
goal.
playoffs. All the pressure, all the fans looking at Bradley Barron having to score this penalty against the
A
best
D-man, by the
goalkeeper in
way.
the league.
A
He's a
D-man.
defenseman. But we spoke to Jasper Foster early in the season, didn't we, Charlie? And he said he's one of the most skilled players he's ever played with, he's ever
Only
seen.
22.
Only 22. He comes up. He's going hands back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He not snipes, he like lifts it over into that top left corner again, which Gospel has struggled with in this game. I'm not sure what it is, but he puts it in there and the Peterborough Phantoms have life. And Gospel could have saved that and it could have been done. And Leeds, we could be seeing Leeds lifting that trophy yesterday. Leeds then have the chance. I'm not sure who it was who missed it, but they had the chance to win it with the penalty shot straight after.
Barron again. I think
was it Barron again?
No.
They put him
It was
back
the penalty shot after. Boysa took the 5th penalty shot.
Yeah, Boysa took the 5th one. You're right, Charlie. And I think Marr saved it, and that was huge again. We haven't even spoken about Jordan Marr, who was absolutely outstanding, by the way. And then up steps our boy, Mr.
No, it wasn't. Up step Barron again.
Oh, up steps Barron again. Marr makes another save on the sudden death. And then up step Mr. Luke Ferrara. We've been banging on about him all season. He goes under the radar compared to the likes of Rory Herman, Kieran Brown, Thomas Malazinski, Svek, because he plays for Peterborough. He got 100 points this season. He steps up, puts on his backhand in that top left corner again. Every single goal which went in on that Leeds net was in the top left corner. It was a silky little backhand. And Dan, we were talking about it. I think it was Charlie. People were saying Russ Cowley should have lifted it on his backhand. Do you know how hard it is to lift the puck into the top corner on the backhand with no momentum whatsoever on the spot? And Luke Ferrara did it. He won the penalty shootout for the Peterborough Phantoms. Everyone comes up.
In the rink of Coventry.
The rink. It was written. It was poetic. And do you know what I love? He went straight to the fans first. He banged on the glass. He celebrated to the fans. And do you know who he celebrated with second? Straight to Jordan Marr, who had made 5 saves in the penalty shootout. Just absolutely brilliant. And I know that we said that we do not like penalty shots in the playoffs. And we think it could be a bit fairer having the 5-on-5 like they do in a lot of the European leagues and the NHL. But oh my goodness, lads, you can't lie. That was entertainment, wasn't it? And it's so cruel on Leeds. It is so cruel because penalty shots can just be a bit of a skills. But what that was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Go on, Dan, I'll speak next after.
All I'm saying is I would not want to be a Phantoms or a Leeds fan in that rink last night. I don't think I could have handled it. Honestly, having that much pressure on them penalty shootouts, oh my God. I would not be able to watch. Honestly, I'd love to watch, but I wouldn't be able to watch.
Go on, Charlie. Go on, Dan, sorry.
It was such a good advert for hockey. Again, in front of the whole league. That's what it's all about. That's what hockey is. Like it's such a good game. And yeah, Charlie, you go.
I wanted to put this in context again. You had a second line of Witkowski, Boysa, and Matt Hayward, right? Witkowski, Boysa, 2 guys who have come down from the Elite League and an NCAA import. And their second line that day, Phantoms, was Padelec, Mitchell King, and Will Weldon. It doesn't matter who you have. It's about the strategy you've got and how committed and hardworking them players are. And Peterborough Phantoms did it. I feel for the Leeds boys, but I think this will just make them a stronger team, Leeds. Losing will make them stronger. It almost felt like they were never going to lose. And it was, and I'll say as that is, it was quite nice to see them lose. Because I didn't want to see them do the double again. And our league had 3 different trophy winners.
Wow, yeah.
And that was cool. And I wanted to mention this. Dan pointed it out, and I thought for me, I actually think this was my favorite moment of the playoffs in terms of.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
Slava had an individual conversation with every single player on the ice at the end of the game. Every single player. He went up to every single player. Some of the conversations were like 2-3 minutes long.
Billy Thorpe was full on like 2 minutes.
Every single player went up to him and he had a full-on conversation with him. And I was like, the bond that guy's got with his players is special. And I'm sure Ryan Aldridge would have done the same in the dressing room. I know Ryan Aldridge is that type of coach. And it will be a great lesson for Leeds. I think they will learn from this. I think it will make players like Brown, Endicott, all of them a lot better of a player. I think they will learn and improve from this. And congratulations, Peterborough.
Yeah.
I, I think this is the best underdog story I've seen in the National League and EPL since I've started watching. The best underdog story I've ever seen.
But I think it's just because of how good they looked on the Saturday as well, and how
the
they
players
did
they
beat
had
Swindon
out.
by a lot.
No Martin Sisters,
yeah,
no Saracenis, and no Duncan Spears. We're missing so many.
Thumbs up, lads. I don't know why it does that, but yeah, I get what you mean. Commiserations to Leeds. As we said, it's the cruelest way to lose. Even crueler than overtime, I think, penalty shots. And they'll be back. They will be back. They've got Brown, they've got Gospel. They're going to have a few lads as well, and they will be back. And that's why we love this league. Anything can happen. Peterborough win the playoffs, and the celebrations after were really, really cool. And I messaged Billy Thorpe. I've messaged Jasper Foster. We've messaged a few of them. And I think Billy Thorpe and Jasper Foster are going to come on a podcast together with us. So that is something to look forward to. It's going to be really, really cool. Anything else to add on that, lads? We've gone on for quite a while. I think we've gone on for over an hour and 15 minutes. It was an unbelievable weekend. Even though Swindon lost, we still had such a good time. And honestly, again, thank you to everyone who come up to us and said hello. It was quite humbling, actually, seeing everyone come up to us and saying hello. So, yeah, anything else to add, Dan?
I do want to add, because obviously we're on about Svalbard going out to every player. I did also notice after the game, you had the Leeds players. Obviously, their heads were down. They were obviously annoyed. And they're all spaced out in the zone, obviously in their own little huddle. And you saw Aldridge come over, pulled the whole team over to him, and they all went around in one circle. And I can imagine what he said to him. He said, "Come on, lads, we're all a team here. We all lose together. So all come over and just stay together and just take out the loss."
Yeah, that's a really good point.
It's just another thing that coaches understand, that they'll be nowhere without their players, and they showed it 100% this weekend.
And fair play to Leeds. You can see in the video of Peterborough celebrating the trophy, they were tapping their sticks and they were saying, "Well done," because Peterborough have done, as Charlie said, a massive upset. But again, that just shows how cool this league is. I love it. I love this league. It's so good, and it's so sad that the hockey season is done for 3 to 4 months until pre-season in August. But before I let you say something, Charlie, the podcast does not stop there. We will be having interviews all throughout the postseason. We're going to get some players on, and then as we see the signings start, just like we did starting the podcast, we'll do our team videos where we go through all their roster. We look back at their season last season, and we'll look ahead at their roster and their expectations for next season. So I'm really looking forward to those. And I think we're going to do a podcast episode either next week or the week after, where we just look back at the season, we rank every team, say what they've done well, what they haven't done well, what they need to improve on, etc. Charlie, do you have anything else to say before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I think it was a weird Coventry for me on a personal note, because potentially with some plans I may be having coming up, going into the end of 2024, going into the summer. It's probably my last full season of watching every hockey game. It is sad. We do grow up. I don't know if anyone knows, I'm 19. And I could have some plans, which would mean I'm going to be busy on quite a lot of weekends. So yeah, it was a weird weekend, because I kind of knew that it would have been my full last season of watching hockey every week. We love hockey to bits. And shout out to the MK fans. They were noisy. You're annoying, but you're very noisy. I'd be surprised if they won't in Coventry in the coming seasons. Their team will be good again next year. And keep interacting with us on social medias. tweet us, at us in the rumors. Tell us what you think's going to happen. Tell us who you want your teams to sign, because we're now in the weirdest part of the season where you got 4 months and some teams decide to announce a player every week. Some teams take till a week before the season to announce their squad. And so, yeah, it's going to be exciting. And I'm hoping we can get some cool interviews for everybody and we can get some nice players on. And yeah, the support on this pod's been crazy. We've had so many cool players come on. The fact we've had Kieran Brown, the top point scorer in the league, come on. And we've had some epic players who come on. We've had playoff winners now. It's been amazing. So thank you to every player who's come on, and please let us know if you do listen, because
this is just the start. And I know Charlie said he might not be able to watch some hockey next season. I might miss some games. I don't know what I'm going into next year, but we will still carry on the podcast, whether that's me and Charlie, me and Dan, me and Dad for a week. We're still going to get those episodes out for you, and we're going to keep on posting on the Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So, yeah, thank you so much. It's been such a good season. I never thought that the podcast would get as big as it is, as much views as it has, as much positive feedback as it has. I've never thought we'd be able to get the amount of players that we've got on. I thought it would just be a few players throughout the season, but we've managed to get 2 or 3 players from every single team. So it's been really good. Dan, thank you very much for joining us throughout the season and giving your insight, a different, more unbiased, neutral view, which I'm sure the viewers do appreciate sometimes, with me and Charlie being a bit biased, but that's what it's all about. And yeah, thank you very much for listening to this podcast. It's been an epic season. Well done to the Peterborough Phantoms for winning the playoffs. And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode, and expect some really cool interviews to come up soon. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Bye.
Goodbye.